What if the dragon that changed everything, Tensura fanfiction author, ErogonWolf. A dragon floated through the infinite void, drifting into the very space where Veldanava was creating the world. Just as the creator put the finishing touches on his work, a deal was made. Seals were placed, and a new world awaited exploration. Eons later, a certain slime and his manas began to examine the void itself. Ciel discovered a mysterious door that Veldanava had sealed shut, viewing it as a challenge to overcome. However, unknown to her, the world beyond that door holds a power even stronger than her master. What chaos will be unleashed when the gate is finally opened? Chapter 29. Deal and Rampage. As Rimuru arrived at the top of the hill where Shizu and Shana were. "So I wanted to ask you too," said Rimuru before being cut off by Shizu. "I heard that phrase from a student of mine," said Shizu. "I'm not a bad slime slurp." "Oh, so you are Japanese," said Rimuru, then looked at Shana. Shana just sighed, then spoke. "I'm not Japanese, but someone where I lived used to play that game from time to time." "I see," said Rimuru. "So if you want, you can stay in town." "Sorry, said Shizu before Shana spoke up. "We will think about it," said Shana, pushing Shizu away. "Come on, Shizu." "Right," said Shizu. "Hey, I can walk on my own," as they left Rimuru alone on the hilltop. "Hey, great sage, did Shana's aura change?" thought Rimuru. Notice, individual Shana currently has a similar aura to individual Eliska while they were with us in Dworgen. "I see, is it her real aura?" "Negative. This aura seems to be from someone else. Notice it has a similar signature to the storm dragon, Veldura Tempest." "What?" As soon as Shana and Shizu got back to the village. "Hey, Shana," said Shizu as Shana looked at her. "Who am I really talking to right now?" "How did you know?" said Shana, surprised. "I lived with her for a few years," said Shizu. "I got used to some of her tells, and she normally had her eyes open." Shana smacked herself in the forehead. "Of course, I messed up the biggest detail while I'm possessing someone," said Shana, sitting down on a cut-down tree stump. "I wanted to ask you something, Shizue Izawa," which shocked Shizu. "How did you?" stammered Shizu, backing off slightly. "Know your real name," said Shana. "I may be borrowing her body, but my eyes can see the truth of things. But seeing through them can be overwhelming to untrained eyes. That is why I keep their eyes closed for all of my subordinates." As Shizu calmed down, still shocked, she sighed. "I see. So what did you want to ask?" "If Ifrit was removed in some way, would you like a new spirit?" said Shana, turning so she was looking straight at her. "How would that be possible?" said Shizu, shocked at the revelation. "I can't go into all the details, but if it were possible, would you accept it?" said Shana. "But the new spirit would change some things for you, long and short term." "Will it control me?" said Shizu sternly. "No, it will be dormant, but it will change you physically," said Shana. "In my old world, we called it a pseudo-servant, but I have no will to control you or your fate after you make your choice." "Pseudo-servant," said Shizu. "Yes," said Shana. "The spirit that would be placed within you is someone that has died in the long-forgotten past or someone within one of my core skills. You can use their power as your own, but it will change your race." "My race?" said Shizu, concerned. "Yes," said Shana, then started coughing with a small amount of blood in her hand. Damn, exceeded the limit. "You all right?" said Shizu, concerned, getting right beside Shana. "Yeah," said Shana. "Possessing a subordinate can take a big toll on their body, so I have to limit my time." As Shana opened her eyes, they returned to normal as her coughing got worse. "Damn him for that." "That's the Shana I know," said Shizu, chuckling. "Oh, shut up," said Shana. "That idiotic master of mine doesn't realize people's limits." "So how much do you know of his plan?" said Shizu, interested. After a few moments, Shana sighed. "I don't know the fine details or how he can influence events, but in the near future, you will lose Ifrit and soon after, my master will offer a spirit that is highly compatible with you. But a servant isn't like a spirit of this world. Care to explain? Responded Shizu. My master holds a skill that stores all of human history and their heroes' and anti-heroes' souls. They are known as servants, said Shauna. They were some of the strongest people in known existence when they lived. That's insane, said Shizu, sitting down beside Shauna. Wouldn't that make them stronger than spirits? No, said Shauna sharply. Most of them were human before becoming servants, and with their legends giving them power, I would say they're along the same size as spirits. But there are risks. I see, said Shizu, and the risks. Shauna was about to say something, but no noise came out. When she realized her voice was gone, I can't say, she was finally able to say. That's something you would have to ask him when you meet him. As Shizu was going to ask, Shauna stopped her. Even we have restrictions on how much we can say, but the person my master has chosen is a good match for you. Mostly. I see, said Shizu. Then how do I accept? Shauna held her hand out. Just a simple handshake. That's actually surprising, said Shizu as she accepted the handshake. I thought it would be something special, like a blood pact. Oh, you don't have to worry about that, and besides, said Shauna as the handshake ended, leaving a mark that moved quickly under Shizu's clothes, I'm not the caster. They both chuckled. Within the separated space of Predator, Veldora was watching through Rimyuru's eyes. Interesting, so you're making waves, he thought. It's been what centuries since we met? Erogon. You rang, said a voice behind him. He quickly turned to see Erogon in his human form, but his hands and feet looked ethereal. What, how did you get in here? Shouted Veldora. You know I can get into any subdimension I wish without being detected, said Erogon calmly. So why are you here? Said Veldora in a serious tone. I just came to observe and to interfere when needed, said Erogon. After all, I have a promise to keep. As Ifrit started his attack. Said Veldora, looking at the battlefield. That is very odd of Ifrit. What is? Replied Erogon. He seems to be keeping away from that girl with the red hair and sending most of the salamanders at her, said Veldora, almost like he's afraid of her. I can understand why he is, said Erogon as Rimyuru swallowed the icicle shot. Shauna is technically contracted to a more superior fire spirit. I see. And that other girl who can kill spirits with that spear is actually terrifying, said Veldora. It feels like it could harm even me. Well, slicing dragonfly at full output can cut the very soul of beings, said Erogon, but there is a restriction placed on it. A restriction, said Veldora, looking at Erogon with an eyebrow raised. Besides myself, said Erogon, only people of Honda's blood can use that spear. I see, said Veldora as Rimyuru captured Ifrit and was about to consume him. See ya later, Veldora, said Erogon, vanishing from the subdimension. I wonder what he really wants, pondered Veldora as Ifrit was separated from Shizu, and he interrupted Ifrit's sealing to have a conversation with him. Chapter 30, Inheritor of the Sun. Within an area that was white without any discerning features, where Rimyuru and Shizu were. Wait, what? Where are we? Shouted Rimyuru. I have no idea, Mr. Slime, said Shizu, sitting on the floor, but I don't feel weak here. But how did we get here? Said Rimyuru, great sage. Notice, cannot determine location at this time, but both you and individual Shizu fell under the effect of an attack from most likely individual Fujio Honda. I see, thought Rimyuru. From what I recall, I was telling you about my past in Leon, said Shizu. Then I noticed Honda's spear tip near the top of the tent, then a flash of light, then here. I see, said Rimyuru as a gust of wind blew between them and Shizu vanished from his sight. Shizu. Calm down, young one, said a voice. I just took her to a different plane so we can speak. Rimyuru turned towards the voice and saw a man in black robes with his face covered. Great sage. Notice, can't see features due to the density of the magicules the individual is using. I see, thought Rimuru, so what do you want? The man started laughing. Oh man, what an innocent and pure person you are, said the man. That's what I love about you, dear Rimuru, or should I call you Satoru? Rimuru shuddered upon hearing his old name. How did you know? I've been watching for some time now from this world, said the man. Now I have to explain why we're here per se. What do you mean? Asked Rimuru. Well, how do I explain it? Said the man, sitting down as he pondered. I made what you would call a promise to someone in the past to save 3 people, and Shizu is one of them, but there is an issue in this scenario. This issue being, said Rimuru, Shizu lives and life goes on. But you don't get stronger, and that is the issue, said the man, which got a question mark from Rimuru. If you don't get stronger, you could be in deep trouble in time. Originally, you ate Shizu at her request and gained her skills in the process, but not now. Because you're saving her life, said Rimuru as the man nodded. But I have a solution for this problem. The man created a double of Shizu between him and Rimuru. You would eat this copy of her, and in turn, you would gain her skills and a human form. Wait, really? Said Rimuru as the man smiled. But just remember, when you return to your body, history will change greatly now due to Shizu being alive, said the man as he gradually began to fade. So be careful, and don't mention me to anyone. But I don't even know who you are, said Rimuru. The man gave a grin through the veil of magicules. You'll figure it out eventually, he said as he vanished. Rimuru approached the double of Shizu and used Predator to consume the double as the white room vanished. At the same time as Rimuru's conversation, a man was sitting right beside Shizu. So you're the man Shauna talked about, said Shizu. The man started laughing after a moment of shock. Shauna said a little too much, said the man, removing the hood from his head to reveal multicolored hair that changed constantly like an aurora. But for a former subordinate of that man, you're still kind. That man? Asked Shizu. Oh, Leon, said the man, but that is of no concern right now, so ask any question you might have. Wait, said Shizu as she pondered, someone that knows Demon Lord Leon but doesn't view him as a threat. She realized something. Wait, you're, the man shushed her. Not here, Shizu, said the man, removing his finger. In this place my name has a lot more power than you know, Shizu nodded. So ask your questions. Shizu thought for a few minutes before speaking. Can you give a more detailed explanation of what you're about to do? The man smiled. Very well. To begin with, you're not gaining a spirit but a soul from within one of my skills. But its ego will be repressed to the point it will be helpful to you until your body gets used to the new power and race. So I'll be Imagine, said Shizu. Not exactly, said the man. The person I selected would change your race to a demi-human, more specifically a lycanthrope in the beginning. He paused for a moment. Then once your body and soul fully merge with the new power, you would evolve into something more. That would mean I can't see my students anymore, said Shizu, saddened, but the man just smiled. No, Fox Illusions can help with that, said the man as a pair of golden doors appeared a few feet behind him. Oh, eager to start Tamamo. Wait, Tamamo, said Shizu, as in Tamamo no Mi. Yes, said the man. I thought she would be the best fit for you, but that is just one aspect of the soul that will be within you. What are you? Said Shizu as the door slightly opened. After all, your light shines for others like the sun, said the man, patting Shizu's head, and your kindness is like the sun's warmth. A girl with 9 fox tails and fox ears walked out of the gate as the gate vanished behind her. I have responded to your call, master, said the girl. Amaterasu at your service. As soon as Shizu heard the name, she passed out from shock. You okay? Said the man, slightly chuckling. Master, she is out cold, said Amaterasu, and she is very weak to hold my power. That's why you need to give it to her in small amounts over time, said the man. Shizu's mind went blank. Now that she is out cold, said Amaterasu as she pounced on the man. Erogon, oh how I missed you. Erogon easily dodged her advances and grabbed her by her hair. You know better than to use my name. Ow, 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 said Amaterasu, grabbing Erogon's arm. Sorry, master, please forgive me. Erogon released his grip. But are you serious about me inhabiting her body like that Ifrit spirit? Yes, but this time go slow, said Erogon. I don't want to reverse time like last time. Amaterasu let out a small smirk as she touched Erogon's chest seductively. Right, master, I will obey. But what do I get at the end? She looked up at him and shuddered as Erogon's eyes were filled with rage at her attempt. Amaterasu, you should know better than this, said Erogon. Amaterasu sighed and pecked his cheek. Very well, master, said Amaterasu, backing away and walking over to the unconscious Shizu. You are the door and the key, even though there are 13 other doors. There is only one key, master. She changed to her spiritual form with her core exposed and entered Shizu as the white room began to vanish. Erogon just smiled. Live a long life, Shizue Izawa. As the room vanished, he saw her string of fate, which was fraying, come back together stronger than before. Within Shizu's mind was a black void with Shizu floating. The last thing I remember was that man talking to that fox girl, called her Amaterasu, and everything went blank. I must have passed out from the shock. That's right, Tilda, said the voice of Amaterasu as the void was filled with light, almost blinding Shizu. The area changed to a Japanese shrine's living quarters with Amaterasu sitting at a table with a tea set. We have much to discuss. Shizu was standing in the doorway, shocked by the sudden change in scenery. How and where? Well, the void you were in was the empty space that Ifrit left behind within you, so when I entered you, I just changed it, said Amaterasu. As to where we are, it is within your mind, more specifically deep in your consciousness. I see, said Shizu, looking around, but why does it look like this? Personal preference, Amaterasu nodded. Yes, we will be here for 3 days while your body adjusts to your new power and form, said Amaterasu, and we have much to discuss. She gestured for Shizu to sit. As Shizu walked over and sat down by the table, her left arm started to sting. She looked at it as a mark that looked like a fox formed on her hand, with multiple tails going up her arm, making a total of 9 tails. What the? I see the marks of fusion formed, said Amaterasu. That mark will slowly vanish as your body adapts and grows into my power as we merge. So it's like a progress marker, said Shizu. But why 9 tails? Well, you're too weak, said Amaterasu, pouring some tea for herself and Shizu. You're literally taking in the power of a goddess of the sun, and a human body can't handle it. Hence the change in my race, said Shizu, accepting the tea and taking a sip, realizing it was Earl Grey. Yes, but that's just the first part, said Amaterasu, drinking her tea. After your change, my power will slowly enter and become yours. I see, said Shizu. What will happen when it's complete? Well, I'll fade from your mind and your evolution will begin, said Amaterasu. Meaning you'll die, said Shizu. No, said Amaterasu. I will just return to the throne. After all, I'm already dead. Both you and Shauna mentioned this throne, said Shizu. Even Demon Lord Leon mentioned it once in the past. What is it? Amaterasu just giggled. Man, that Leon is still trying to open the throne, she sighed. He will never get it open. But what is it? Asked Shizu. Well, it used to be a physical place in our old world, said Amaterasu. A place outside of space and time where heroes and anti-heroes were pulled out from the flow of time when they died and placed into the throne structure for when they were needed. Shizu raised her eyebrow in curiosity. The people in the throne were originally used to protect humanity from the beasts of humanity. Originally, said Shizu. Yeah, in our old world, magic was dying, or some called it drying up, So a select few decided to keep it hidden from the rest of the world to protect it, said Amaterasu, taking a sip. They were called mages. But magic here is vastly different than that, retorted Shizu. Correct, but mages of my old world manipulated the throne to make a way to reach what they called the root. But that's something else entirely, replied Amaterasu. They manipulated the throne to summon at least 7 servants from the throne to fight in a life-and-death game. That's barbaric, said Shizu. That's how mages were in our old world, said Amaterasu. But after a devastating event, servants were turned into a status by the leaders and rulers. A status, said Shizu with curiosity. Yes, said Amaterasu. I would compare it to the Demon Lord rankings. But why did you say that Demon Lord Leon was looking for a way to open the throne? Asked Shizu. He's looking for a particular person that turned into a hero, said Amaterasu. But he is forgetting one big issue with that. An issue, said Shizu. Tell me, Shizu, said Amaterasu, holding up 2 fingers. What are the requirements of being in the throne? Let's see, said Shizu, going over everything she just learned. The first is that they had to be regarded as a hero or an anti-hero from history. Amaterasu lowered one of her fingers. The second requirement would be, the word stopped in her throat. Correct, said Amaterasu as she lowered her last finger. They're dead, but the person he is trying to summon is alive, so the throne is useless to him. I see, said Shizu, slightly depressed. She hadn't noticed the 2 fox ears that popped out from her head as her hair started to have an orange highlight near the tips, like the setting sun. Amaterasu chuckled at the change. She made a circle with her finger as a mirror appeared and floated in front of Shizu. Looks like our first conversation will be ending soon, she said calmly. Shizu looked at the mirror and saw the changes to her face and her new fox ears, though she still had her human ears. What do you mean about our conversation ending? Well, time works differently here, but we can still talk while you rest, said Amaterasu. It's been 3 days, but if you want to talk sooner, just find a mirror and whisper my human name. Your human name? Asked Shizu. Yes, said Amaterasu as the room started to turn white. Tamamo. The room fully turned white. As Rimuru returned first and took his human form, Rigurd, Cavil, Gaido, Iren, Honda, and Shana entered the room with Ranga right behind them. Chapter 31, Truths and Falsehoods. As Rimuru returned first and took his human form, Rigurd, Cavil, Gaido, Iren, Honda, and Shana entered the room with Ranga right behind them. As soon as Rimuru saw Honda, he started to immediately charge but was stopped by Shana as she put a cloak over Rimuru. She whispered in his ear, "We both will explain." Rimuru nodded in response. After a few hours, Cavil's party was sitting down across from Rimuru. Rimuru was wearing clothes now, and Shana and Honda were sitting to the right of Cavil's group and left of Rimuru. Iren did her usual questioning until she got to the important matter. "Wait, since you look like a younger Shizu," said Iren with a small pause, "but you didn't eat Shizu." Shizu was sleeping behind Rimuru. "That's what I want to know," said Rimuru, glancing at Honda, "and why you attacked me." "Honda," said Iren, surprised by the statement. "Very well," said Honda, pulling out her spear and putting it on the table. Iren knows of at least one move that this spear can do, the bind and sever setting, right? "Yeah, it binds a target and severs the soul, right?" said Iren. "In a way," said Honda, "it severs the name of anything in the spear's reflection with bind and sever. But what I did was a different setting, as I was ordered to by the one I serve." "Serve," said Cavil. "I thought you were an adventurer like us." "I am. It's just that the person I serve is a really free spirit, it just—" Honda was stopped by Shana. "You're getting off topic," said Shana. "The technique she used is called release and recover. It drags all in its reflection into a separate subspace along with the user for a 1vs many fight, but that is when it's used at maximum power." Honda nodded in confirmation. So why only me and Shizu? Asked Rimuru. Our master hates it when people die with heavy regrets, said Shauna. So he gave an order to bring Shizu and you to an area he can influence. Wait, influence, said Cavil. Our master is in a similar situation as Veldora, being sealed, said Honda. But he can influence areas his subordinates have control over. So that is why you dragged us into your subspace, asked Rimuru. Honda nodded. Shauna explained what happened in the subspace with their master, Rimuru and Shizu, minus the spirit inside Shizu's true name. After a few minutes of silence, Eren asked, "Who is your master?" They both responded simultaneously, "We can't say," which shocked everyone. He likes to stay anonymous in this situation, said Shauna. But I would say he is neither an ally nor an enemy. He allows us to do as we please as long as we complete the orders he gives us, which is rarely done. I see, said Rimuru. So are you two staying here? Honda shook her head. No, I like adventuring with Eren, Cavil, and Gaido, she responded as Eren hugged her. I might stick around to help Shizu, said Shauna. Then after that I might leave. I see, said Rimuru. Then thanks for sticking around, Shauna nodded. As Cavil's party prepared to leave, they got better gear from Rimuru, but Honda declined. Sorry, Rimuru, my custom armor is located at my house. I'm just wearing this for fun, responded Honda. Rimuru agreed and they left to report their findings. After a few days, Shizu stirred, her new form already settled. She opened her eyes, looked around, and saw Shauna resting by the bed. Shizu just smirked. Oh, master, you always worry. You're one to talk, said Shauna with her eyes closed, startling Shizu. Shauna straightened up and examined Shizu's condition. Looks like the spirit is resting and had no ill effects on you. I mean, you look a lot better. I feel a lot better as well, said Shizu as she stretched in bed and saw her tail. I'm still not used to that. Shauna just chuckled. Don't worry about it right now, she said, standing up. I'll go get that slime. Shizu nodded. After Shauna left, Shizu looked around for a mirror but only found her sword. She walked over to it and picked it up, slightly drawing it to get the blade's reflection. Seeing her new fox ears along with her human ears, she muttered, How odd. Yes, how odd, said a girl's voice which startled Shizu as she was alone. Oh, sorry for scaring you. Shizu looked around and saw no one, but then realized who it was. Tamamo, don't scare me like that. Oh, sorry, but please don't try to cut off your own tail, said Tamamo within Shizu. It's a part of you, so it will hurt. Got it, said Shizu. Got what? Said Shauna, walking in with Rimuru in his human form, which shocked Shizu. Oh, nothing. And you look like a younger me, said Shizu, looking at Rimuru. Yeah, Eren said the same thing, said Rimuru. How are you feeling? Younger, but it still feels strange, replied Shizu, sitting back on the bed. Shauna checked Shizu's pulse again. Well, as a former human myself, your body is normal, at least by lycanthrope standards. Shizu punched Shauna gently as a joke. All three of them laughed, though Rimuru didn't quite understand Shauna's words. Wait, did she say former human? Notice, individual Shauna did say that. Wait, what do you mean by that? Said Rimuru. Oh, that's right. The closest thing here would be imagine, said Shauna. In my old world I was called a flame haze, a human contracted to a crimson lord. She pulled out her necklace. It is nice to meet you, Sir Rimuru, said Alistair through the pendant on the necklace. As Shauna stated, I was called a crimson lord in our old world, but here I would say I'm similar to a superior spirit of fire, similar to Ifrit but stronger. Likewise, said Rimuru, but within his mind. What? We have another ticking time bomb here. Wait, said Shizu. Is that why you trained me all those years ago? Yes, said Shauna as she looked at Rimuru. And no, I'm not like Shizu with Ifrit. I actually accept Alistair's existence within me. Yes, she is the perfect flame haze for me, said Alistair. Oh, forgive me, I meant partner. I see, said Rimuru as he had an internal sigh. So if Shizu actually accepted Ifrit, she might have been like Shauna. But knowing her history, that wasn't going to happen. Chapter 32, Unexpected Threads. This chapter is from a small discussion with Rayhanrisker Rayhanri about the side story of Clayman's revenge. This chapter will have some spoilers for the first few chapters of that side story and for this story. End. 48 years before Rimuru was born within Erogon's seal, he was resting peacefully. Suddenly, he felt time distort within the world. "What was that?" said Erogon, opening one of his eyes and peering into an observation orb toward the source of the disturbance. He saw it was in the kingdom of Gistav. Wait, isn't this Clayman's domain? He ignored the distortion at first, but felt it a second time within seconds of the first, which angered him. "What the fuck?" said Erogon, turning into his human form as he opened a portal to Gistav. "Whoever is doing that is going to be punished." He went through, cutting his powers in half and leaving the rest in the seal. Within Clayman's castle. "So you're telling me that you got killed twice by a slime," said Laplace. Laughing his head off, Clayman sat depressed across from him on a couch. "Yes," said Clayman, "but I think I got caught in a time loop, and this is my last chance." As Laplace stopped laughing, "That makes sense, but your second time you wasted." "Hey, I didn't realize what was happening until it was too late," said Clayman. "But there was a difference between the two." "What do you mean, my lord?" said Eva, a dark elf maid who was in the room. "The number of people there, Eva," said Clayman. "The first time was just the demon lords and the storm dragon, but the second time it was the demon lords, the storm dragon, and the observer was there with 5 other people." "So there was a difference even though you did nothing," said Laplace, sitting up quickly. Clayman nodded and Laplace pondered the info. "So someone influenced the events in the second time that wasn't Clayman," said Eva. Laplace continued to ponder, who would be strong enough to alter history without remembering the past events. Then something dawned on him. "Wait, Clayman, who is the observer?" "Oh, it was ErogonWolfsbane," said Clayman, which shocked Laplace. "Wait, are you serious?" said Laplace, standing up quickly. Clayman just nodded. "Wait, who is this Erogon person?" said Eva. "It's not a who, more of a what," said Laplace. "He is one of 8 true dragons in the world." "Wait, 8, said Clayman. "I thought there were only 4. This earned odd expressions from both Laplace and Eva. "What if the first time was actually vastly different from the second time?" said Eva. "Care to elaborate?" said Clayman. "Well, let's take the 2 Walpurgis you died in. There were more people the second time around," said Eva. "So some time before that, someone greatly altered the world in its entirety." "It makes sense," said Laplace. "From our memory, there are 8 true dragons, but you remember only 4. He pointed at Clayman. "You're right," said Clayman. "Do you know of anyone who would have that sort of power?" As the words left Clayman's mouth, all 3 of them sensed a bone-chilling aura as the room became isolated from the rest of the world. "What the hell?" said Clayman, looking around. Eva stepped in front of him as a figure cloaked in shadows appeared by the window. "I recognize that aura," thought Laplace as he got into a combat stance. "I thought you were trapped in that seal, Erogon." Clayman saw the shadow form into Erogon's human form. "Heh," said Erogon, eyeing Clayman with his real eyes. "I felt a distortion in time that would ruin my plans, so I came to fix it. So, regressor, that's why." "EVA!" shouted Laplace as he charged at Erogon. Eva grabbed Clayman's collar and started to bolt for the door, but all 3 were stopped by thin orange threads. "Demon marionette," said Erogon. The threads formed from his left hand's fingers. "You recognize this technique, don't you?" He started to walk toward Clayman. Damn it. Why did this happen? Wait, thought Clayman. I want to know something before you kill me." "Oh," said Erogon, smiling, "you think I'm going to kill you. That is a surprise." He put his hand on Clayman's shoulder. "Wait, you're not going to kill me," said Clayman. "Why would I do that?" said Erogon, surprising all three of them. "I need you alive for my seal to be released, so I'm just going to make you forget about this encounter and your loops." His other hand covered Clayman's face. "Notice you skill Fate Weaver, YN." "Yes," thought Erogon. His skill activated, altering Clayman's very soul and forcing him to forget about his regression and the last two timelines. This also altered Laplace's and Eva's memories of what Clayman had told them. Notice total people within the archive of time, 2. Good, now realize and understand how you fell, Clayman. Erogon left as the isolation barrier dispersed and time returned to the proper order. Now my plan is back on track. As I returned to my sealed cave to rest, Rosaline appeared beside me. "Master, was that necessary?" "Explain," said Erogon. "Well, Clayman could have remembered what happened, but we could have framed him instead," said Rosaline. "We could have, but," said Erogon, "my goal is to be an ally of that slime. If the frame job was tied to one of my subordinates, it would mean I ordered it, and besides, he still remembers." He pointed to his head. Rosaline went wide-eyed as she realized. "I see, you are quite the manipulative master." "At least I will keep my promise." Erogon turned into his dragon form and went back to sleep. "Enjoy your recovery and rest, master," said Rosaline as she vanished. Clayman opened his eyes and saw white. Looking around, he saw the floor and ceiling were white, but the walls were covered in books. "Where am I?" "I see I have a new guest here," said a woman with black hair and two buns and verdant eyes. She wore glasses and kept her full figure concealed by a black dress lined with red fur, wearing black gloves. The dress possessed a long slit revealing knee-length black and white vertically striped socks. A large knot with white stripes was present below her cleavage. She wore circular, palm-sized mirrors as earrings and a necklace shaped like two C's connected at the backs. "No, you're a prisoner like me." Chapter 33, Unrest in the Forest. After a few days, Shizu apologized to Rigurd about the village. Luckily, no one had died in the incident. Dord, Shana, and a few of the Goblinas made Rimyaru's clothes for his human form and altered Shizu's clothes so her tail didn't impede her. "So how does it feel?" asked Shana. "Better," said Shizu, "but I didn't realize you could alter clothes." Shana pouted. "Shut up," said Shana. "One time I had to deal with an opponent who liked to destroy clothes. It was very difficult to deal with." "I can see that," said Shizu, putting on her altered clothes. "So you had to fix it yourself." "Yeah," said Shana. "By the way," said Shizu, "what happened to my mask?" Shana pulled it out. Rimyaru fixed it and made a double for himself. She handed it back to Shizu. As Shizu held her mask, she wondered why would he. Then she realized, oh, so he can go to a human town. "Correct," said Shana. "Now let's go train." "Wait," said Shizu. "Why does it feel like you just want to vent?" Shana tilted her head to the side. "I have no idea what you're talking about," said Shana. Within the forest of Jura in a clearing, Shana and Shizu were sparring with their blades. "Master," said Shizu as they clashed, "is it just me, or are you weaker than the last time we sparred?" Shana got slightly pissed, swept Shizu's legs out from under her and slammed her down within a split second. "Want to say that again?" "Owa," said Shizu from the speed of the strike. "That was not fair." "Well, is life fair?" said Shana, giggling as she held her hand out. Shizu was helped up. "True enough," said Shizu as she got up and brushed off some dirt. "So what is next? Because we did not come out here just for sword sparring." Shana sighed. "Right as always, we're out here for the skill training you gained. So tell me, what did you receive from your new body?" "And how do I do that?" asked Shizu. "I mean, I feel younger like I was in my 30s. "Just look within yourself and feel if there is something new or different," said Shana, sitting down on a rock like a chair. "Okay," said Shizu. She sat down on the ground and closed her eyes to sense her skills. "That's surprising," said Shauna, reminiscing. "What is?" said Shizu, keeping her eyes closed. "Last time we did something like this, you were so stubborn that you never listened," said Shauna, giggling slightly. "Only when Cronoa got involved did you listen." Shizu quickly opened her eyes in embarrassment, blushing and glaring at Shauna. "Oh, shut it." She paused for a moment as if seeing something new. "Wait, what's that around you?" She saw an aura around Shauna that looked like a crimson flame. "Oh, so you can see it," said Shauna. Shizu nodded. "Then I figured out your new skill. It's known as Nature Sense. It's like magic sense but mostly attuned to nature and natural phenomena." "What do you mean by that?" asked Shizu. "Well, draw your sword, stick it in the ground, walk away from it, and use your new skill," said Shauna. Shizu complied, and as she did, her sword gave off a bad, scent-like aura. "What the?" said Shizu, holding her nose. Shauna laughed a little. "That is why we did it here instead of in the village." "Because of the forge that Kaijin has?" asked Shizu. Shauna nodded. "Now just let your senses expand out and tell me what you see and feel," said Shauna. Now to see how far she can actually sense with that skill. If she is highly attuned to Amaterasu, it will be huge. Shizu closed her eyes again and let the skill expand. She felt the goblin village quickly, with its mix of natural resources and the slight foul smell of the forge. As it continued, she felt the natural energy from Veldora's cave with someone inside. It felt like Rimuru. She continued to expand. There was a strange fog rolling through with what felt like ogres inside it. She continued until she felt a pure natural village. Shauna explained that it was probably the Dryad's village. As Shizu looked toward the Dryad village, a few of them actually noticed her. She was surprised. Shizu then sensed the lizard folk and the swamps near Lake Sis. As she continued outwards, she suddenly felt sick. The smell of steel and death mingled together. It almost made her hurl from the strength of it. Unnoticed by Shizu, her fox tail glowed until it was almost white. "All right, that's enough, Shizu," said Shauna, putting her hand on her shoulder to calm her down. "You did well for your first time. Just limit it to a close range so you can see as well." Shizu nodded and slowly opened her eyes. Her irises were white before fading back to her normal color. The range of the skill reduced to about 30 to 40 meters, and her tail stopped glowing. For her first time using it, she got used to it rather quickly. Erogon really made a good choice with her, so that is why he removed that protection spell when she got Amaterasu, thought Shauna. With a slight smile, she whispered, "You always make things very interesting, my old friend." "What was that?" said Shizu, barely hearing it. "It was nothing," said Shauna. "That fog is most likely shooting with the surviving ogres." Within a semi-dense area of the forest of Jura, 7 adult ogres and 15 ogre children gathered around one of their own. "Damn those orcs," said one of the ogres with a tall, burly build. He had flame-like wavy crimson hair and 2 large jet-black horns. He had tear-like red markings flowing down from his eyes. "There is nothing we could have done, brother," said a petite girl who looked human, except for 2 large porcelain horns on her forehead. "The princess is right, young master," said a short old man with aged silver hair and 2 white ivory horns. "If it wasn't for Miss Shooten, it would be only us 6. "And I thank you for that, Miss Shooten," said the young master. "But why did you not join the battle?" "Numbers," said a rather short human-like ogre. Her skin was pale with a purple tint. Her hair was short and purple, and her eyes were lustrous purple with red makeup. Her horns appeared to flow out of her body naturally, becoming wine red. "I may be an Oni, but with those numbers, it was only a matter of time. The chef asked me to protect the children." Shooten nearly collapsed from exhaustion but was caught by another ogre with a wild appearance and a thick black horn in the center of her forehead. She had large purple eyes, light purple hair in a ponytail, and a curvaceous figure. "Miss Shooten, you must rest. You have been going for 3 days non-stop," said the ogre. Shuten merely nodded as she fell asleep and the fog dissipated. Another ogre appeared suddenly, kneeling by the young master. "Sir, I have a report," said the ogre, who had a lean, muscular figure, dark skin, and dark blue hair. A single white horn protruded from his forehead. "A pack of direwolves with hobgoblin riders are near here." "That's not good," said the young master. "Lady Shuten can't be moved while she is in that state, so the 6 of us will have to take them on and subdue them." The last ogre, with gray skin and an oversized smithing hammer, nodded in agreement. "Luckily, the other monsters won't get close due to Miss Shuten's aura," said the old ogre. "Okay, children, stay within Shuten's sight," said the young master. "We have some trouble ahead." The kids nodded and played amongst themselves as the 6 adults walked off. "So everything is going smoothly," thought Shuten as she saw them walk off. "I hope." The fight went as expected. The hunting party was knocked out besides Ranga, Gobta, and Rigger. Then Rimuru arrived. The ogres got the wrong idea and attacked him, but it was quickly resolved. They were about to go back to the town when— "Wait, Sir Rimuru," said the young master. "We have a few more people a little way from here, and one of them is resting from overexerting herself." "I see," said Rimuru. "Do you think we have enough people to help get them to the village?" "I think we might be one short," said the young master. "Okay," said Rimuru as he opened a thought communication to someone nearby. "Shauna, you busy?" "Not really, why?" responded Shauna. "Well, I sensed you nearby with Shizu, so can you come here to help?" said Rimuru. "Yeah, no problem," said Shauna, cutting the connection. After a minute, Shauna arrived while keeping her aura concealed. As soon as Shauna appeared, the young master became alert and almost drew his weapon before Rimuru intervened. "Oh, sorry, she is the one I called." "I see," said the young master, lowering his guard. Shauna walked over to Shuten, picked her up piggyback, and they all started to walk to the goblin village. As they walked back, Shauna whispered to Shuten so only the 2 of them heard, "You're faking it, aren't you?" Shuten just slightly smiled and whispered, "Yeah, and it worked, didn't it?" Shauna just shook her head, always the trickster. Chapter 34, Calm Before the Storm. As Rimuru, Shauna, and the ogres got back to the village, Shizu arrived as well. Rigger stayed behind to finish the hunt for meat. "Shauna, why did you?" said Shizu, seeing the ogres. "Oh. Friend of yours," said the young master, looking at Rimuru. "Yeah," said Rimuru, "she's staying with us for now." Shauna put Shuten in an unoccupied house before returning to a small meeting with the ogres, Rimuru, Kaijin, and Rigurd. "Wait, you're saying orcs attacked ogres?" said Kaijin. "Yes," said the young master. "From what I saw, they were wearing armor, what humans would call full-plate mail." "Sounds like you didn't fight them," said Shauna. The young master nodded. "Our former chief had a plan if a large force approached. The 7 of us with the children would flee to ensure survival." "I see," said Rimuru. "So when you stumbled across our hunting party, you thought we were with the orcs and attacked." "Yes," said the young master as he bowed. "I am truly sorry for attacking your people." "No problem. We hurt some of your people as well and no one died," said Rimuru. "But for orcs to have armor and weapons could mean," said Rigurd. Kaijin nodded. "A demon lord," said Kaijin. The air in the room became tense. "What were their numbers?" said Shauna. "The orcs." "From what I saw," said the ninja-looking ogre, "the number that attacked was around 200,000. "That many?" said Kaijin, shocked. As Shauna pondered the numbers, Haruna walked in. "Lord Rimuru, the meal is ready." "Great, let's eat and talk," said Rimuru. They headed to the outside dinner. Shuten woke up and joined the festivities. "So how are the children?" asked Shuten. "They are wary, but," said the young master, "they like it here." "Well, that's good," said Shuten. "But should we stay here?" said the young master. "That is your choice," said Shuten. "All I was asked to do is protect the children." She spotted Shauna and Rimuru walking over. Well, I have to talk to an old friend. As Shauna and Shuten went to the edge of the woods to talk, Rimuru walked over to the other ogres. He offered them a place to stay and complimented the princess's knowledge of herbs. "So you have been busy," said Shuten. "Last I heard you were running a guild." "That was 80 years ago," said Shauna. "After Shizu was placed in my charge, I handed the reins to my successor." "I see," said Shuten. "And don't tell me that I have been busy," said Shauna, pointing to some of the ogre kids. "Don't tell me some of them aren't yours." "I will neither confirm nor deny that," said Shute. They both paused, then started to laugh. "So, where is Hecate?" "Oh, that is a story," said Shauna. "She is with Frey." "By orders?" asked Shuten. "No, her own will," said Shauna, which shocked Shuten. "Wait, the same monochromatic person doing something on her own," said Shute. "That is surprising." "You're telling me," said Shauna. "I never expected her to have her own initiative." "Well, Master did say to do as you please," said Shute. "She might have found something interesting in Frey." "True enough," said Shauna before she got serious. "Why didn't you say she was there?" "I didn't say it when that slime was nearby," said Shute, recalling the ogre village attack. She remembered a girl with deep blue hair and eyes wielding a short blade and shield, killing ogres alongside the orcs. And we don't know her reason. "Sephira," said Shauna. As she spoke the name, the mood soured. "Erogon's middle child." Rimuru started to approach. "So what are you two talking about?" said Rimuru. "Just reminiscing about old times," said Shauna. "We used to work together back in the day." "Yeah," said Shuten. "Notice, lie detected." "Maybe they don't want to say." "Well, I let them know they can stay here," said Rimuru. "If you're planning to give them names, I don't need one," said Shute. "And even if you tried, it could kill you since I am a very high-ranked being." "Got it," said Rimuru. "Thanks for warning me ahead of time." He started to walk back, then looked over his shoulder. "By the way, what is your race, Shuten? You look like an ogre, but your aura says differently." Shuten just smiled. "I am an Oni, a being that can be born into an ogre clan once every few centuries, or evolve through a process." "I see," said Rimuru. He walked back to the feast while the young master went into the woods to think. Within the kingdom of Inglacia, in the Free Union's guildmaster's office, two people were busy with paperwork. A third person came in with a cheerful demeanor. "You look happy," said a man who looked like a Japanese youth but wasn't his real age. "What did you do?" "Oh, just vented some frustration, Yuuki, as part of Clayman's plan," said the girl with blue hair and eyes. "After his subordinate told that orc lord to attack an ogre village, I joined in to let loose, but it was strange." "What do you mean, Sephira?" said a beautiful female elf with violet eyes and blonde hair in business attire. "I felt one of my father's servants there, but they didn't show themselves," said Sephira. "It was such a pity." The elf pondered. "You said servant and not subordinate. Is there a difference?" "In this world," said Sephira, "there is, but it's mostly from the magicule source. Oh, should I call you Kazalim or Kagali?" "Since I look like this, you can call me Kagali," said Kagali. "So, what do you mean by source?" "You know how most monsters and people gain magicules on their own, right?" Sephira explained as Yuuki and Kagali nodded. "Servants are the same, but their output is 4 times their intake." "Wait, it's that much," said Kagali. "I never noticed that when I observed them." "Who did you observe?" said Sephira. "I think her name was Shauna," said Kagali. "Why?" "She's a subordinate, not a servant," said Sephira. "The easiest one would be in Milim's domain." "Wait, why Milim's domain?" said Yuuki. "Because one of my father's servants is there," said Sephira. "Then you can look into Frey's domain where a subordinate is." "Wait," said Kagali. "If I give a description of someone, can you say subordinate or servant?" "Easily," said Sephira. Kagali gave descriptions of odd people in the area, and Sephira gave answers, with the exception of the Hershers. Hey, said Yuki, wouldn't it be easier to give a visual description? Yeah, do you have 5 gold coins on you? Said Sephira. Yuki tossed the coins and Sephira caught them. Thanks. Sephira put 4 of the coins in a pile and 1 coin separately. This is the power difference mainly between servants, she pointed to the 4 coins, and subordinates, she pointed to the single coin. That much, said Yuki. But while servants are powerful, they have an exploitable weakness. She pulled a single coin from the stack. This is all they can recuperate on their own, without the magicules they receive from their master. They're only a quarter of their strength without it. That is a big weakness, said Kagali, but how do we exploit it? Yeah, said Yuki. If we set up a draining field, it would affect everyone involved. You wouldn't have to do that, said Sephira. I think an anti-magic barrier would work for cutting off their endless supply of magicules from my father. Wait, did you say endless? Said Yuki. Yeah, my old man has a nearly endless surplus of magicules. So that's why you mentioned the anti-magic barrier, said Kagali. How soon would they get used to it? They can't, said Sephira, unless you include Artoria. Wait, Artoria, Kagali thought for a moment. Where have I heard that name? I haven't heard of it, said Yuki. Then Yuki, you would know this name, the Sleeping Night. Wait, said both of them, the Sleeping Night. She's in the history of the Holy Empire of Lubelius, said Yuki. From what I understand, she has the same authority as the cloistered emperor. But has she been seen? Said Sephira. From what I can tell, she's more hidden than the cloistered emperor. Yeah, she hasn't been seen since its founding, said Kagali, at least publicly. True, said Yuki, and they have kept that position ever since. Let's get back on topic, said Sephira. The servants that are caught in the anti-magic field will have a sudden drop in their power, just like a holy field. What if your father is in the field? Asked Kagali. The field would last for a minute at best, and a second at worst. And if he's not in it, said Yuki. As long as the caster is alive, said Sephira, unless Artoria or Tiamat were in the field. Why those two? Said Kagali. I can understand Artoria, but why Tiamat? Can I have 7 more coins? Sephira waited as Yuki tossed more. She set up a single coin stack, a 4-coin stack, and a 7-coin stack. This is the problem. She has multiple monocores. I see the issue, said Yuki, but I sense you're not saying something. My father made a deal that any of his subordinates or servants never be considered members of Walpurgis, said Sephira. Right, Kagali? Yeah, said Kagali, I heard about that. Sephira picked up the coin representing the subordinates. Each one of his subordinates should be considered just below or at the level of power as a true demon lord. Yuki's face drained of color. So that's why he made that deal with Guy, said Kagali. He didn't want Walpurgis to be one-sided in his favor, even though he isn't. Kagali realized he was always involved with Walpurgis anyway. As Yuki thought of plans, they noticed a report about Shizu staying in the forest of Jura and Shana being there as well. He laughed with renewed spirit. Hey, Sephira, want a job for me? Depends, said Sephira. What's the job? Yuki smiled as he began to explain the plan.